I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but how do we address this so that it's not confrontational? Because we're so used to the past. We're coming out of a very stressful time frame. We all have our own baggage that we're dealing with. So how can we go, how can an assistant and a hygienist, a front office, how can we go about this to have a good outcome?
I think first thing is approaching going back to the practice as if you're starting over. So just like how you said, is that we're all doing something different, even though it might be the practice that I've worked at for 20 years and I'm the lead hygienist or whatever it may be. We're all starting over with a new role. So I think Tia's idea of redefining roles is amazing, because even from like a neurological aspect, if you were to say, okay, I've been furloughed for this long and now I'm going to start back on Monday, and so we're rehiring you and this is your new job description, from a mental aspect that already helps me process it better so that I know what my new expectations are. But then also just from like a personal level, if they're not doing that for you, for you to go into this with that open mindset of everyone at the practice is new. So even if you've worked with them for 20 years, they have all gone through a life altering change. We have all been through, we have never gone through this in our life. There's been other things in people's lives with HIV and SARS and everything, but I think that this is really a detrimental thing, and we have all gone through this together. And what the person is on the outside of this or at the end of this is different than the person in the beginning. Whether they knew someone or lost someone, or just the fear alone has really changed them altogether. There's going to be a lot of change that's happening on a personal level. So approaching each person like, this is the first time I've ever met you, because you are probably a totally different person than the person I met before. So if you can go into that practice and just leave all that old baggage behind and say, this is a new person. I don't know what their new fears are, what their new likes are. They've been home for 3 months. They usually go out. They haven't been doing that. So they've got new likes, new things that have happened to them, and can just approach everyone with that open mind of trying to get to know who they are now. And that can really just create rapport and connection with people. So
Right.
Cassie and I always say the thread theory is about finding 3 things that you have in common with someone as quickly as possible. Do that when you get back to the practice. Find 3 things that you have in common with somebody that you have worked with forever that you might not have known about. And that's going to start to recreate those connections with them and start that start over process for you as you move forward in the new norm that we're going to have.
Right, for sure. Tia.
And you're absolutely right, Christine. Perspective is everything. And I talk about that all the time. And we've all gone through something totally unimaginable, right? None of us could have seen this coming 3 months ago. And so filling your heart with kindness and when going back to work, and working better as a team, and realizing that some people might have suffered a loss, of some sort, and just being respectful and being kind to each other as we're getting back and we're, deciding our new roles and trying to find out, what it is we're doing. And the other thing is, people want direction. People want guidance, and they want direction. And we've all been looking for it the last, 2 months, right? We've been where are we going? What's going on? And it's totally unprecedented. So by defining those roles, like we talked about, people know what is expected of them. So then they're more apt to do it. So, that's what's expected of me. Okay, I'm going to do it. But just kind of throwing it in there, and they're like, wait, I didn't know this. So just be kind. Start back and be kind.
Well, and Tia, and I was going to ask you about that. So you were saying dental assistants, we can make our own, you can make your protocols and all of that. And I think there are a lot of dentists who have not communicated enough with their team. Just like this is new for us. This is new for dentists. I mean, we have seen dentists have to step up in a leadership role that it's been great, actually. I think it's been a wake up call for sure. Right. But for dental assistants, I think of dental assistants a lot like the front office, in the sense that, they were furloughed potentially, they're making unemployment. Now they got to decide to go back. They've got daycare. They've got all these things. There's probably some communication lack between them and their dentist. Do you think the dental assistants who are looking for some guidance, some direction, should talk to their dentist first, of just like, where do you see us going in this practice? How do you think we should, because we're not going to we can, but if you have something with your boss that you need to talk about, shouldn't it be more kind of a one-on-one to go in with that right attitude, to go in ready?
Absolutely. And if your doctor doesn't approach you, you need to approach them. I mean, even before you go in, can you text them? Can you call them? I'm old fashioned, so I like to call. but I might text and say, hey, do you have a few minutes? Can we talk? If they're not coming to you and bringing that up, maybe that's not their personality, go to them and say, hey, we need to talk about this. And if we'd have had more of those conversations, I think that, team members are feeling lost out there. They've had no contact with their teams, and that's why they're going to social media, because they're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm reading that and I'm thinking, you poor soul, you're lost. And so, no, you go to your boss. If they haven't come to you, go to your office manager, go to your doctor and say, look, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about what this is going to look like. I know teams, a good friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, they had dress rehearsals. So, they got into, we were having a conversation. They were saying how they spent 2 and 3 days just dressing the part and going through the routine and the flow, just so that everybody knew what that would look like once the patients were actually there. Right. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's great. That's a great idea. We didn't do that in my office, but we had a lot of conversations, before that actually happened. So, if they don't open up the conversation, feel free to do it. This is your job, right? And you got to know what to expect.
Now, I think that there's 2 points you had said earlier I want to point out here is I wouldn't go in and say, what are you doing for me? Like, why haven't you talked to me? No. It's all about me, right? It's going to be more of how can I help? What do I need to do? Because the dentists have to deal with 50,000 things. So as an assistant or a hygienist or front office, if we come in and say, I got this, you just tell me what you need for the schedule or the assistant. So that, and the second thing I'll just put out, this is just my tip, text what you want to talk about. Don't just say, hey, can we talk? Because as soon as you think that, the dentist thinks you're quitting, you're asking for a raise, you're whatever. So say, hey, I'd like to talk about how I can help when we're opening up. Or I'd like to talk about, so that the dentist is open.
The new roles. Right. Your new role. Everybody's got a new role now, right? We didn't have before. So yeah. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about us. And so I want to know, what can we do? What can I do to help our team, get up and going? That's what we need. So you're right.
Exactly. And really what it's about is those darn patients. We got to get them back in the schedule. We got to get back in the office. All right. Well, so everybody on Facebook, this kind of concept was just talking about things that are being talked about, but bringing it here to say, you can make a difference. You can be part of this opening up and not sitting back and waiting. We need to come into this as a team. We need to come into this and realize it's like our first day, all of us at a new job. Chastity, do you have any other thoughts specific? I mean, our focus here is hygienists. So not hygienists, dental assistants. I'm looking at you thinking hygienists. Any other thoughts that you'd like to throw out there for anyone watching this or watching it later?
There's, I guess I've already really touched on, just iterating them, is saying that the first thing is that we're really being intentional with our conversation. So if we're are ready to have this conversation about what this new norm or this new process looks like, just knowing what it is. If there's something that we do need, is just being very intentional about having those conversations to be able to address those. But then the second part, something that Tia touched on, is, really what we hear is based on the quality of how well we listen. So we have to make sure that we're really tuning into what it is that our teams are talking about, what their concerns are as well, and making sure that we're really delving deeper into understanding that as well. Because a lot of times the things that we say are lost in translation between the words that we choose, and things can be very easily, like the text message that says, we need to talk. One person might see that as like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose. Yeah. Let's just jump on a phone call. But making sure that we're being intentional with our listening as well, so that we're making sure that we're understanding people's perspectives, asking to make sure that what it is that they're saying is what they're meaning, and that it's not being text, because we're all highly stressed, right? A lot going on. We're all looking for certain answers and assuming that.
All right. On that note, I think she froze a little bit for me. That was, I think that's completely right. And there's let's just talk. That could be something that would be like, we need to talk. So Christina, how about you? Any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll just kind of spin off of what Chastity was saying. You know, she's talking about setting your intentions, and knowing your intentions too is really important. So not just letting people know like, hey, I want to talk about X, Y, and Z, but also for yourself internally recognizing what is it that I want to get out of this conversation. Because what's really important is if we're approaching a conversation confrontationally, like if we're saying like, I want to get out of this conversation that there's no way that I'm going to be the runner for the practice, then we already know that we're not approaching the conversation the right way. So trying to find a positive way to approach conversations. When we can find a positive approach, we get more into that creative thinking space. So just like Tia said, where this person wrote her an email and she just was totally not in her creative space and she was just asking other people to do things for her, it's because she got into that tunnel, that focus tunnel. And so if we can approach things from more of a positive approach as much as possible, you know, just check yourself before you're going to have conversations. Make sure you're in that position to say, okay, I'm going to listen to the conversation that they have to have. I'm going to ask questions to understand more. And I'm not trying to get anything out of this conversation other than something positive. So I just want to get a better understanding of why I'm the runner. Not I want to make sure that they don't allow me to be the runner. Because you can't shift that mindset before you go into a conversation. You're never going to get to that outcome that you're looking for.
Right.
And so
and everybody needs to understand they're part of a team. I mean, we're part of a team. So if I have to do something that I don't normally do in order to help, to make this work, and you've got to go outside your box, and you got to go outside your box, it's okay, because it's going to take all of us to make this work. And ultimately, that's what we want, and that's what's going to make our practices thrive. That all of us are working together to accomplish, this one task, and that is taking care of our patients.
I agree 100%. And the last thing I would say is be careful on social media. If you have found your group there, it's time to get off and get back to your group in the office. There's too much what ifs and negativity and this and that, and that's not going to help you unless you're following somebody amazing like the dental MVP and Tia Hunter. In Front Office Rocks, of course, then make sure you're just careful about that, because we've had nothing else to turn to, but it's time to get back to the real world. So Tia, thank you for pulling over on the side of the road and having a quick chat with us.
No problem.
It was awesome.
Yes, I pull over because you never make videos while you're driving. Don't do that, people.
I know.
That's dangerous.
There's the whole PSA announcement for the day. So mic drop right there. We hope everybody has an amazing Memorial Day. We know some of you guys are back in the office. Some are opening up on Tuesday. Some are opening up June 1st. We're all going to be back up and running soon. So just make sure that you're doing everything that you can to be a leader in your organization, whether you're an assistant, receptionist, hygienist, or dentist. Have an amazing 3-day weekend. Thank you guys for talking, and we'll see you guys again next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.